children can really irritate us at times, and you think, why in the world would they be acting like that or doing that? But we still love them unconditionally, no matter what. So these ascended masters sit in this higher dimension, and of course, between these things, a lot of things are happening. Like I'm shown shapes and numbers and patterns and codes, and I'm trying to take all this in and remember it. And then the ascended masters come forward, and now I see Jesus. And this is not the Jesus that hung on my Meemaw's kitchen wall. This was a dark-skinned Jesus in physical form. I was allowed to see him in physical form because of my belief system and what I held on to. And so all these ascended masters told us that they reincarnate time and time again to try to help humans evolve and to try to keep them from wiping themselves out over and over again. So there are people on earth now with this ancient wisdom and knowledge who are trying to share these same messages. And then immediately after I had interactions with all of them and touched the ancients, I was whisked to this highest dimension, the 15th dimension. And at this time, I remember asking, wow, am I in heaven? Is this heaven? And the creator of all things said to me, no, I understand that this is what you think of heaven, but this is actually the 15th dimension. So then I'm asking to go visit my children. If this is the last time that I'm going to be on the earth, I want to tell my children something. So I'm allowed to go to them. And I remember telling them that I will no longer be in physical form, but I will be like the wind. You'll be able to feel me and experience me, but you will not be able to touch me or grasp me like you once did. But that doesn't mean that I'm not there and with you. So think of me like the wind. And so months after I had time to process everything and really try to understand, because when I passed away, I had this deep-rooted belief system that you die and you wait for God to have a day of reckoning on the earth and then raise you up, and there will be people left behind. That's the belief system that I had when I died. So when I was shown all these past lifetimes that I had and all these spirals and patterns and shapes and numbers and these ascended masters, I confused and baffled would be an understatement of the year, okay? I was jarred. I was shook. I was shook beyond belief. So I already felt like I was living like I was dying, okay, whenever I was on hospice. And then to come off of hospice and then actually die, okay, I was struggling with my message today because a lot of you join me every time, and I try not to talk about the same thing every time. But because new things are coming in. My dad is desperately trying to make things right with me, because that's a whole nother story, and I'll tell y'all about that if y'all want to hear it. But today, last night I was given a vision by my dad, and he showed me this. He still communicates with me. I've made hundreds of videos on YouTube and on my TikTok page about my visions, my dreams, where he's taken me. And I share the things that I think are urgent and important, okay? So last night I was given this vision, and it was a literal web above our existence, okay? And so just bear with me if this is a lot. Just take it in for a second. there are lots of spiritual people and connected people who are able to access this web sometimes, okay? And it's not a literal web. It's like I'm just being shown this way so I can understand it with my human brain. And so even though I have touched the ancients and have that understanding, I still have this tendency to question. And that's something I'm working on, because I've never been shown anything wrong. That's why it's so important that these messages get confirmed over and over and over again. So here's what I want to say. My vision last night was this web, okay? And there are these channels that certain spiritual people are connected to and can grab from sometimes. But the people in power, and when I say they, okay, I'm going to just say they, that is like less than 1% that holds all of the world's wealth and power and control. Okay, so think about that. They have been made aware of this collective consciousness and energy. So it has not been hard for them to send out false messages across this web. Some people are not aware of this. I was made aware. I was shown the right messages from our ancestors and from the spirit world, the energetic world, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you need for it. Our ancestors are sending these messages. They're desperate to be heard. They're desperate for open channels. So there will be some people who get dreams and visions, and they'll share them immediately before they understand them. And we as humans, our brains, can process these in a very fearful way. When we see death and destruction in a vision, it may quite literally be the old ways are dying. It doesn't mean that we are going to face these cataclysms. So here's what I want the message to be today. Okay, because I was conflicted on how to do this. And then whenever I was back in my bedroom, it's just like, I don't know how this happens, but it happens every time. Right by my dad's picture is this book, okay? This is a journal and a book that I was writing to leave behind when I was on hospice, okay? And in the entry that I thought maybe I need to, just kind of glance over this and see if there's something in here for my people today, our people, our collective, and our community. And I opened up immediately to this page, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to glance over it. And it starts out by saying, you know that feeling? The feeling when someone tells you that you're about to die, and then you just wait? Waiting for the worst possible thing that you can imagine. Death, so close to your door that you can touch it. I've fallen to the... I haven't read this. Sorry. You fall into the bed and feel all that. Alone. Feeling the feeling that you can't share with anyone. Both relief and desperation at the same time. We're going to get through this together. The feeling that you have kept in all day so your children didn't see. And then you fall into bed and let go of everything. But you turn and face the wall so your partner doesn't see. Bear with. This is something that I didn't expect to get so emotional about. Tired of everything, tired of nothing, exhausted, beyond tired. And I just want someone to tell me that it's a lie, to tell me that I can change it. But no one has said that. No one has said this is all a dream. And there's something within me that knows that I have to be strong for everyone else around me, because everyone else is terrified. No one can fix it. So tired of trying to fix myself for everyone else. Do you know that feeling? The feeling when you're waiting to die. When you're waiting for people to come home into your room so you can just feel some kind of life. For once in your lifetime, you just want it to be easy, to be simple, to be helped, to be understood, to be saved. But no one can do it. No one can fix it. You know that you're not going to be, and it's not going to be easy. You know that feeling when you have to write your own eulogy and your own obituary to go into the paper? Not many people know that feeling. Do you know that feeling when you're still trying to stay strong and fight back the tears within your eyes and your gut? The feeling when you're trying and fighting to save yourself for someone else and everyone else. There is reason for the fear, for the pain, and for the suffering, because it remains the only constant. Everyone else has continued living the way that I want to live. And every once in a while, someone will ask, how are you? But they already know the answer. You have 6 months to a year to live. And they know that you'll lie and say you're doing well, you're okay, you're fine. Maybe that's why they ask, because they need to pacify themselves. They cry out to their Lord to heal me. I can't begin to explain what it feels like when you're so tired, but you don't have a choice but to continue to be strong. When you have this little fear within you because they've told you you'll never win. But then I have cried enough to know that it gets me nowhere. The only option I have is to fight. I could give in and give up, just to succumb to the pain and die. Many people in my support group have done that. I'm not scared of death. I'm just scared of leaving behind my children. The one person that I fought to find in my lifetime who loves me for just who I am. Do you know that feeling? That feeling that you get that says, fuck this, I'm not gonna die. You know that feeling that fills your heart up. That says something inside of you is stronger than this. Something inside of you has to keep going. This is temporary. Do you know that feeling that you have to fight fear? Then you get that feeling that everyone would be okay without you. They would continue living their lives and perhaps feel the void of their loss, always remembering that you fought, but you gave up much too soon. Do you know that feeling where you fear people will stand at your grave and weep? I'm not even there. I do not sleep. I'm the thousand winds that blow. I cannot fear. Do you know that feeling when fear is no longer a choice? What I want to take from this today, I did not plan on sharing that and getting so emotional. I want to say this. When you have to imagine the worst thing that you can imagine, death. When you imagine death or losing your family, and you fear that, and you allow yourself to fear it, and then you allow yourself to accept it, something amazing and powerful happens. Not that you accept you're going to die, but you accept that fear. Because resistance creates resistance. So in that journal entry, it seemed like I was struggling with a lot of feelings. And when I allowed myself to feel those feelings, it helped me move on from that. That was 10 years ago. And had I sat down and resisted those feelings, like I think about my dad all the time, like he was placed on hospice and worked and, just like resisted the feeling. He didn't sleep. He wouldn't eat. He was just so focused on his time limit. But had he accepted it, could he have changed it? It doesn't matter now. Everything had to happen exactly like it did in the exact time frame that it did so that I could be shown all these things. Here's what I want to tell you today. That if you've lost someone special to you, they are around you. They can hear you. They can see you. And they can feel your experiences. Okay, look, I'm sorry I missed some comments coming in. But this book has a lot of stuff in it. A lot of healing, a lot of feeling. And I think that's a thing that they have been scared of. And they are trying to stop this collective and this movement. But it's going to happen. It is already happening. I'm telling y'all, there are some beautiful things awaiting us in the near future. My dad has been with me ever since my death, and he has been trying so hard to make things right for me and for Earth. He was a very uneducated man, and he was very insightful and intelligent, if that makes any sense. But he was manipulated. He was forced to participate in this so he could provide for his family in a way that he never had before. And he had suspicions that certain things were being done. And I'm telling you, I don't know how I can say this vision that he gave me last night without going too far into it. But he showed me the webs that we all pull from. And this is a collective consciousness. If you understand that we're all interconnected, then you'll understand this. And sometimes things are being trickled into that feed to scare us, to keep us fearful and divided and controlled. So I want to give you my story today. And I want to give you this. If you sit with those feelings and prepare yourself not to accept that reality, but to understand that it's a possibility and prepare yourself for it and know that everything will happen exactly like it has to happen, and it's happening for you and not to you, then you can take all the pain and turn it into power. You can transmute the pain into power, and the fear into love. And so this is another page I just opened up to, and it says, it's just, I know I'm being guided because this is for y'all today, okay? I'm getting deep into this, like in a way that I didn't expect to, but let's talk about it, okay? So this, I turn to this page and it says, as for me, I know that I have to prepare myself. I know that I need to prepare my children. I need to be prepared for death. I know that this life is probably temporary, even though I've felt something deeper inside me that tells me that just this space is temporary and that I will be here again as I have before. But my upbringing tells me different, so I don't know what to believe. I hope that I can prepare for this journey. The reality is, that I can't share my struggles, and they aren't known to the outside. I have an invisible disease that is slowly taking my life away from me. But I know there are many others like me who are hidden from the world, forgotten, or simply unknown. How does one even prepare for death? I visited a lawyer today. The last weeks have felt surreal to me. I do have a deep understanding that pain is here for a purpose. But I know all the fainting, vomiting, and weakness aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Being sick is a full-time job that I don't want anymore. Can I resign? The reality is, no matter how bad it gets for me, I always wonder how much worse it is for my children and for Trey. I guess I'll end with this. Hopefully one day I'll know what happens after we die. And now I do. And this is what I ended with. Challenges make life interesting. Overcoming them makes them meaningful. So listen, I want to say this. I was unsure about how to share this message about the webs and the things that are being trickled in. Think about and prepare yourself for anything. And that way you don't fear anything. Because we all need to get to this point where we realize that our fear feeds something. It feeds the virus. It feeds the illness. It suppresses our immune system. It makes us weaker. Fear is the very thing that has kept us from evolving as a species. Fear is the thing that fuels our sickness, our illness as a society. And I just want you to sit with that and think about it. My heart, I have made it through a lot of challenges and I've overcome a lot of obstacles. I've shared many of them with you. And, okay, so some people are coming in later. I'm sorry if we were reading that. I'll try to upload this to my YouTube. It takes a long time to download these videos. But thank y'all for sharing time and space with me. I know that this time and space is beautiful and sacred. And I receive each of you today, knowing that you may be at a different spot in your life. You may be in a different place today, and you may need to know that everything's going to be okay. I also want you to be aware of fear being put out into the ether, if you will, intentionally. So if you have, like my dad keeps telling me, knowing is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle. So if you know, then you have an understanding and you can accept it. Just like I accepted all my feelings that I was feeling and worked through them and accepted it. And then by accepting the fear and knowing where it came from a fear of not knowing what came after death. It came from that spot where I was still heavily indoctrinated and made to believe that there was nothing outside of death until Jesus came back and resurrected me. Well, I thought, what the heck do I do in the meantime? Do I just wait in a cold ground? Like, I don't like that reality. So when I actually died and I saw that we can do this again and we can live life, it got rid of the fear. So I can't give you my experience, but I can share my story, and I know that you'll see the truth in that. I know that you'll feel my heart and my intention and my love. Because that's another thing I've been shown, that it needs, like the love needs to be shared. Look, thank y'all for all your kind words. The thing about this journey, my experience, I know that I'm meant to share it with y'all. But also, I'm meant to tell y'all about things that I see that maybe are unseen by our physical selves. If I still didn't have that connection to my dad, then I know I would be shown, but in a different way. I'm shown by my father, and then I get confirmations through conversations that I have and through my elders. Okay, Greg, you get scared of suffering, but I'm working on that. Okay, look, I have suffered in my lifetime. I know that it can be scary, but that all of your feelings, like my daughter gets so, my 17-year-old gets so annoyed with me because I want to understand why she's feeling a certain way. Where does that come from? Does it come from this place or does it come from a different place? But I know by understanding where it's coming from. Is this something that I'm consuming that's scaring me? Like, have I watched something that is making me feel this way? Or am I misunderstanding a message that I'm getting? Because listen, our ancestors and the energy, the energetic beings and the spiritual beings, whatever you want to call them, the inhabitants that were here before us, our ancestors are seeking our connection. They're in this web up here. But also, the less than 1% of the world that holds all the wealth and power and knows ways around universal law are trying to harvest. No, let's not say that word. Back up, bear with me. They're trying to cause our reactions. They're trying to keep us from making these connections and these revelations, these harness. Thank you, Suzanne. So they have done this intentionally, and they have used the same MO time and time again. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, just look throughout history. I mean, just do a quick dive into a rabbit hole. I cannot address conspiracy theories no matter if they're true. I made that promise. Okay. BB loves the beach. I'm so sorry. Thank you for feeling like you can share this with me. I know that your son's consciousness left his body before he felt pain. And I know that there is a piece of him still with you. And I know this because this is what I was shown. Okay, Greg, you say, I would like to talk to hospice people. They see a lot of death. And you know, whenever I was on hospice, there was this young guy, and we talked a lot about our belief systems and if there could be anything else after death. And we both were kind of taught to believe that you could go to this place. Everything we've been taught to believe is wrong. Everything we've been taught to believe is wrong. I'll say it again. Everything we've been taught to believe is wrong. And the very fact that they have used it for fear and control and profit is not lost on me, and it shouldn't be lost on you either. You don't have anything to be scared of or fear, but I know that's easier said than done. So when fear comes, I want you to ask yourself, is this a natural, logical fear? Or is this an irrational fear that I can't place where it came from? And if it's that, then realize that some fears are being placed into our paths for purpose, to keep us in a state of fear and panic and confusion. Because the more confusion and chaos and distractions and disruptions that we are shown, the less likely we are to continue on this path forward. The less likely we are to be real with ourselves and heal ourselves. And so I just want y'all all to know that today, okay? So I'm sorry that I went into that journal and got 10 kinds of emotional, but it's still raw for me, and that's part of the thing. I've tried to read these things whenever I'm being pulled to it, but otherwise this stays underneath my cabinet. And I think it's important today because we need to realize that some feelings are not natural. They are being placed on us for purpose and very intentionally. So you have to be careful about your consumption right now. There are going to be a lot of people getting these dreams and visions that they are going to misinterpret, or it feels real to them. They are having these real dreams. They are having these real experiences and these awakenings. But because of the other stuff in this web, it can be confusing. So here's my advice to you. If anything scares you or confuses you from a content creator, reach out to them for clarification. If they don't understand it, then don't go back there. Don't listen to that. If the person is speaking with love and intention, but it still causes fear or confusion, then that's probably not something you need to be listening to. I've been saying for months and months in all my videos, it's in all these lives, that it's going to be incredibly important what we intake and what we consume and what we listen to and what we hear, even down to music, even down to our television shows. A lot of us who've had spiritual awakenings can barely watch TV anymore. But I do know that some shows are placed directly in my path to give me signals and messages. And so if vibes are off, then you go. Megs, yes, I'll go with that. Okay, listen, Born by Candlelight, Suzanne says, they made a movie about how they can hijack or control our dreams. Is this a French film? Because if it is, I can't even. Yes, so see, this is not something new that I'm saying, right? This is nothing that y'all haven't already thought about, but take this as confirmation for you. I also had an NDE, and what you're saying is very true. Thank you for that. Yes. So, I think the most important thing today, let's recap, okay, before we end this, unless y'all want to talk about a specific topic or anything like that, or if you just want to keep talking. But I think the main thing that I want you to know is that you have nothing to fear. Miss Joan, I don't watch TV anymore, but I've been so tired lately, falling asleep, sitting up. Look, this is winter, and we're made to follow the cycles of nature. And I think sometimes we've been so far removed from that idea that it seems like something's wrong if we're not going nonstop. But listen, I'm taking this advice from my beloved pecan tree out back. She told me the other day, she didn't tell me audibly. I don't want y'all to think she's actually telling me stuff. I feel a connection to the trees and everything now. We're all a vast network, okay? So she's given me this poem about slowing down in winter so that you can be fruitful in the spring. And so it was a beautiful poem. I don't share every poem that I get, and maybe I should, but sometimes I just share what I think's really important. But so maybe you needed to hear that today. It is a time of rest. Thank you. It's like we're all connected and having the same thoughts at the same time, which is not entirely implausible, is it? So look, it's okay to conserve and rest and just be in that moment. Sometimes our bodies need rest. Sometimes our minds need rest, and sometimes our energies, ourselves need rest. So, okay, so somebody, Miss Carolyn, hello, I believe your story. Are you saying no God and no Jesus? Okay, here's what I'm saying. Jesus was a very historical figure. He never wanted to be worshipped or praised or he didn't want to. He had a message that he shared with thousands of other ascended masters, and it goes like this: love yourself, love others. Love yourself as much as you love others, and don't pay anyone for your connection to source. Don't think that you need a middleman for your connection to source, and don't if you can't help, don't hurt. So that was basically the common point of origin for all religions. The Tao is extremely relevant in this time and in this space. And I want you to know that I'm careful when I talk about religion because I know personally what it's like to hold a religious system close to your heart and to go by that and to live by that. And I also know what it's like to have it questioned. So I'm careful when I say that. But Jesus was a real historical figure in time. And on the day that he was crucified, I was shown that there were hundreds of others that were crucified at the same time as him. But one of the people that was following Jesus saw an opportunity to profit from that message and sell it, package it up in a nice little package and sell it for profit, not expecting that thousands of years later we would still be hanging on to it. Okay, have no idols. Yeah, exactly. When our dreams are scary, how should we interpret them? Okay, thank you for this question because I want to tell you something, and I've had other people reach out to me. I don't know if they're in the group chat to share their stories, but they had some really scary dreams back right before COVID, and that they were unrelated to COVID, but it was a spiritual awakening for that person. So a lot of times when, okay, I want to tell you two things that I know about dreams. Dreams are part of our subconscious, acting out things to help us in our daily interactions. And some people dream and can travel. We are interdimensional beings, however nutty that sounds. We all are. And there are also times when our ancestors and spirits and energy can try to communicate with us. And let me tell you something about that. I know for a fact that it is extremely difficult and takes every ounce of energy when you're dead to communicate with someone. So let me explain to you how it feels when you're dead. You have two separate entities. I don't know if entities is the right. You have two separate beings, okay? We'll say that. You have your, actually three different beings. Yeah, three different beings. You have your spirit or energy being, you have your physical body being, and then you have a mental being. And so each being is feeling something different. And they're, for the first time, separated. So you don't know which one you're communicating through, okay? So when spirit and energy try to communicate with us, it takes every ounce of energy and effort to do that. Just like whenever I went to my children and told them this, it took every ounce of energy that I had. And a few weeks later, maybe even a month after my experience, I went to my children and finally asked, did you get a message about the wind? And my daughter said no, because she was not an open channel. She was not open to it. And my son said, yeah, he thought he maybe felt windy that day. And he thought that maybe he felt me in some kind of way, like he felt that I was not there anymore. So, here's how you need to sit with those dreams. You need to write them down in a journal. And a lot of times, things will start happening in your physical 3D reality to help you understand that dream. So, one of the things, some of the dreams and visions that I got immediately after were chaotic and death and destruction. And then I realized that was showing me that my old self died in that experience and something was being rebirthed. So a lot of times whenever you're having a spiritual awakening, you will dream about that part of you dying. So it can look scary. Now, I've had other visions come to me, and they are events that actually happen. But my advice would be to you to write them down and think about that on the deepest level. Think about what it could mean metaphorically before you think of it as a literal. Because spirit and energy communicate with us in different ways. We take it literal, but sometimes they are sending us the only thing that they can to get across. So I hope that helps answer that question. How can we find you if TikTok goes away? Okay, so I am on YouTube. I really have not even thought about this, but I am on TikTok, and if you feel connected to me and you feel like you need to stay connected, then I've given a lot of people my phone number. I'll be glad to do that with you if you feel like that's something that you feel safe doing. When you say for your next life, do you mean when you pass on? Okay, so when I put that thing on there for my next life, I received a download because I'm quite literally living my next life right now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm living a new life now. And I didn't understand at the time because I thought it would be for my next life, but it's the life that I'm in. Thank you for that. Okay, are you saying you're going to be connected when you pass on? We all are. So I use this analogy often. If you don't know what bees see humans as, go and look that up. And the bees see us as billions of fractals of light. And that's what we are. We are billions of fractals of light that make up our human body. Oh my goodness, thank you for that. When I feel worried about the future, you pop up in my feed and I feel peace. I'm so happy to hear that because that is the very thing that I'm trying to offer, because I know that when we look around, and if for some reason, like the other day I was getting my tires changed and they had the news on, and I thought, holy crap, I'm living in a completely different world. Like, I had no idea that any of this was going on. And it's not to say that you should be that disconnected, but I didn't realize how much I have turned everything off. Like, even the silence is sometimes what I need. Like, I don't have the television on. And that's not only to protect myself, but I have a child too. And we just have to be careful about what we're consuming right now. And there are things that can look scary. But the time that I had BB Loves the Beach, please message me after this. I want to talk to you. I want to follow up with you. Okay? The day, a year after I died, it was September 26, 2022. I remember my dad coming to me and taking me to a movie theater. And I thought, what are we doing here? And he sat me down and he played this really horrible movie. And at the end of that movie, it made me feel all kinds of stuff. It made me scared. It made me happy. It was a lot like my exit interview. Whenever I had my exit interview, I saw everything that happened in my life. But he was showing me this on a big screen. And I asked him, what are we doing here? And he said, remember, it's not always as it appears. It's a show. It's a big show. And so, moving forward from that, knowing that a lot of things are shown to us intentionally to cause reactions is something that I have to make y'all aware of. And ever since I've shared time and space with y'all, y'all have all shared that with me. Y'all have given that back to me and shown me confirmation all the time. Oh, goodness, guys. I can't. I'm so sorry that y'all have had to deal with those tragedies in your life. I really am. I want you to take some peace and comfort knowing that we are more than our physical bodies. And at the time that we die, we have an option and the ability to leave pieces of ourselves with the people who are going to need us, who are going to miss us the most. On your exit interview, did you feel what everyone you interacted with felt? Yes. And so this goes back to everything from childhood. And I can't explain the way that it happened. So time was irrelevant, okay? So time slowed down and sped up, and it was everywhere all at once, okay? So I saw this and I felt everything that I had, every harsh word that I had spoke, I felt every physical thing that I had inflicted on someone. I pushed my brother over a fence one time when we were fishing. I didn't want to be fishing, so I pushed him over the fence. And he was 6 years older than me. And I broke his ribs. And I didn't, but the fall did. Now, I felt that. So you do feel everything, every interaction on earth, negative or positive, you feel that back. You do. I'm so sorry, Rachel. Message me after this. I want to talk to you, okay? My guides brought me to a theater, but I didn't watch my life, a meeting place. I don't know what that means. Okay, so this is interesting. I don't know what that means either. You know, that's the thing. It wasn't a bad experience. No, it was, let me say this. Like, it was a beautiful, sacred experience. And you realize in that moment that you are interconnected with everything on earth. And you are an integral part of the vast network that exists on earth. And thank you, Miss Rose. What is the balance between telling the truth and harsh words? Okay, so this is interesting. I grew up in the South, and my mama taught me to be seen and not heard. And she taught me to be meek and kind and sweet and turn the other cheek. And so I want to say this. If you are a woman and you have been taught that, forget it. Everything we've been taught to believe is a lie. There is a thing that, okay, I'm raising my daughters very differently, but I also want my daughters to be kind. So here's what I want to say about the truth, the difference, the balance, okay, between the truth and harsh words. And it's this. Think before you speak. And go through the acronym. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? So before we speak, we always take that into consideration. Is it necessary? So if it is, then tell it, speak it. And, you know, some people are much more blunt and brash than others. Sometimes I can say things before thinking, and that's something that I'm working on now. But since my experience, since my death, it's been much different for me. In the past, I just said whatever. And didn't give it a second thought. But now I'm much more aware of what an impact your words can have on people. Okay, so Casey Kelly is here on the screen. We went to those places in time. Like, we leave from the theater is where we left from when they showed past lives, but it wasn't on the screen. Okay. I want to say this about past lives. Sometimes, if you were taken there by your guides, then go for it. But sometimes knowing about your past life could interfere with your purpose in this lifetime. And I say that because I know a lot of people are interested in accessing their Akashic records or knowing what they did in their past lifetime. Well, listen, we've all had past lifetimes, but sometimes it can interfere with your life's mission here and your job and your lessons. Okay, so I don't always, I had to say that, but Heather, I'm on YouTube. You can find me. So my husband told me last night that YouTube you can go live too. I didn't even know that, but I'll do that. So I plan on making a transition to YouTube, okay? But for those of you who felt connected and want to stay connected through our phone, then I don't mind doing that. Y'all just message me. Yes, Casey Kelly, be kind but take no ice cream emoji, poop emoji. That's, look. So a lot of people who are coming across me have the same message that we were given. But I'm telling y'all, this is a time, the age of Aquarius is important. It's also important that we know that this is a time where the divine feminine energy comes forward and leads the way to this new earth. And we help act as a bridge in this transition. Because, no offense to the men who are in our community too, but we listen to men, and men have a tendency to think that we are less than. Sometimes some men can, but thank goodness I have one of my elders who has said this since the beginning. It's not for the men to say anymore, it's for you to say. And I fully accept that and have stepped into that. So y'all need to embrace that. Look, I grew up as a people pleaser and wanted to avoid all conflict in my life. And I'm still working on this. I don't want y'all to think that there are parts of me that remain. I'm not a perfect person, is what I'm trying to say. There are still parts of me that I'm finding that I need to heal. My unhealthy relationship with food. My unwillingness to, well, my desire to have control, but my unwillingness to take it. So there are things about myself that I'm still working on. But by holding this time and space with this collective and this group, we all create time and space. And this is another thing that's important for you to understand, okay? There's something, this revelation that happened this morning during a conversation. And it's about being childlike. There's this energy about we need to embrace play too. Because when we grow up, we forget that that's a time where we have connection too. That no one can interrupt. So play with your kids. And if you don't have kids, then play with your pets. If you don't have pets, then play with yourself. No. Back up. Wait a minute. Go to the park and just swing, okay? I almost said something that could have had a double entendre there. So, listen. What about telling the truth about how things other people have done to have hurt us? Okay. So I'm going to say this, and look at my wisdom shining through my head today. Look at that. It's time for, that's something I'm trying to embrace too, the naturalness, and it's probably not going to be too natural anymore. Let me tell y'all, nothing, okay, the truth may be that people have hurt us in the past. Look, I had a husband that knocked me up, and I had been with him for 4 years. We were trying to get pregnant. And then, on the day of my baby shower, these papers were delivered to my house, a summons to take a paternity test. And so, the day my daughter was born, my then husband went home to retrieve some clothes and some mail. And he brought back the letter that, in fact, he had fathered another child outside of our marriage. So, look. Everything that happens to us and everything that we think that is being done to us to harm us is actually helping us. Whether you see it now or whether you see it in the future, you will know it. I know this now for a fact that all of that happened. Look, and also he racked up about $22,000 of debt in my name to have these escapades with this other woman. Okay, so listen, I could tell everybody who would listen about how bad my experience was with him. Instead, I chose to not internalize that, but sit with it. And I knew that anything that I said was going to have negative consequences, because I could tell the truth about him, or people could figure it out for themselves. And this didn't happen to me, it happened for me, because I'm going to tell you why. If I would have been with that man when I got really sick, hospice sick, I would have been placed in a nursing home, and I am almost certain that I would have died. And this was also the abusive relationship that I was talking about. So all of these things had to happen in a way where I had to finally get enough and move away from it. And it was for my highest good. So try to understand that even if a person has harmed you, you have to think about, what did it teach me? What did I learn from it? And move past that. Because when we tell the truth about people who hurt us, it's only creating more things that we'll have to speak on at our exit interview. Okay, I hope that answers that. Okay, let's see. I hope I hadn't missed any questions. My neurovascular disease is called multisystem atrophy, or Shaw-Drager syndrome. I was so reluctant to come out because whenever I started during my spiritual journey of like trying to figure out all this other stuff, there were a lot of people who told me that I was not spiritual enough if I could not heal myself. And look, I'm still in the process of healing myself, but I've been shown something different. So I have to share my message because it's something that I know will help a lot of people in this community too. Because when I heard that message, the first one that I heard was saying that you have the ability to completely heal yourself. And if you're not completely healing yourself, then you're not doing it right. So I backed away for a long time. I thought, wow, maybe I'm not doing something right. I feel really connected. I feel like I'm having these epiphanies and these realizations. So why can I not heal myself? But the fact that I got off hospice, and the fact that I had a child after that, and the fact that I keep moving forward each time, it's not something that's going to be instant. It's something that's going to happen. And then another message that I got was that I'm hanging on to my illness because it's teaching me something, which is complete bullshit. Like, I mean, we can only step in it and smell it so often before we have to call it. You know, like, I'm sorry, that's just the only words I had for it. So, y'all, we all have our own individual journeys. We are all different people. We all have to find the way that works best for us. So, okay, let me see. Did I miss something here? Well, I'm doing that. I don't know how I did that. Y'all, I'm making y'all laugh. I don't know how. I don't know what y'all are laughing about. Hopefully it wasn't my message. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it is a good word for it. It's the only one I had. So, look, can I explain neurodivergent? Sure. Look, a lot of these, okay, I'm going to say exactly what I see, and I'm going to risk offending some people, but I'm going to say it carefully. A lot of these terms have been coined and put onto us to make us feel like we are different or less than. But all of the 5 tribes on earth right now, all of us have this spectrum of normal is only a setting on the washing machine, okay? We've been given this box to fit into and to conform to. And anything that falls outside of that box is seen as neurodivergent or psychotic, or we're just having spiritual psychosis, or you're on the spectrum. Let me tell you something. All of this has been made up in a way that, okay, let me back up. It's not made up. It's real. But it's also been created to create more division. I hope that, okay, yeah. It's been created, the words themselves, to make people feel like they're different and they're separate. But I'm going to tell y'all something. As people, we have never been... We were never supposed to separate ourselves. We were supposed to celebrate each other's differences. And when we came together, we completed that circuit. Yes, thank you for that. The words themselves can divide us and make us feel less than. Yes. So let me tell y'all something. If anybody was ever autistic, it was me, and I didn't know it. If anyone ever had ADHD, it's probably me. Undiagnosed, okay? Like, there are things now that I realize growing up I didn't understand. I was just quirky. It's what they called it. And so, different, sensitive, whatever you want to call it. They had different words for it then. But the thing about it is that we're all individuals. We all have purpose. And I don't want to say purpose because that is another construct that's thrown at us, but it's the only word I have for it. We all have special things about us. We all have gifts. We all have these talents. We all have these natural abilities. But when we've been made to think that it's a problem, we're not so eager to share that. You get where I'm going? You get what I'm saying? When we're made to feel like our gifts are medical issues or mental illnesses, we're not so quick to share those gifts. And our gifts are not our own. They're made for each other. I hope this helps. I hope this helps someone today. All the labels, all the constructs, everything we've been taught to believe is wrong. So, okay, what can we do about it? We can start questioning everything that we've been taught to believe. We can start asking ourselves, is this something that feels right to me? Or is this something that's been pushed on me by a belief system that no longer serves my highest good? Is this something that is going to help me heal? Or is it actually hindering me? Reminds me of what is said on the telepathy tapes. Hyperactive is actually hyper creative, yes. Also, why do we say disorder? My disorder is my gift from source. Words are important. Okay, look, the things that I was shown in my death experience, outside of that, the things that I was shown, our English vocabulary is extremely limited. And this goes back all the way, this can be seen in the Tao. And it's spelled Tao, okay? So it's pronounced Tao. But if you don't have this book, I would highly suggest you get it. Because it has never been so relevant. And today, Thomas and I were on the phone and we were talking about the Tao. And how it brought him to, we were talking about, we just have these conversations that flow, and Thomas was the name of my father too. Okay, so we were having these conversations and these revelations about the Tao and how words are insufficient to describe what is the way. And so words have been placed very carefully onto things and onto people. And diagnoses, let me tell you something about all these things. There's a problem that I have with, we've been made to feel like we should always be happy in America. Like we have been made to feel like if we have a feeling other than happy or energetic, that it's wrong. And that message itself is wrong. That message is damaging because your feelings are there for a reason. Just like whenever I read, you know that feeling. That was there for a reason and a purpose. And it got me through that feeling, writing about it. And you have to figure out what gets you through things. Because, like I said, there are 4 original tribes and now there's a 5th. We all work in different ways. We all have things that work for us, and we all have gifts to share with each other. And when we come together and celebrate each other's differences instead of feeling like we can't talk about it, because cultural appropriation is another construct that's been piled upon us where we feel like we can't even have conversations with people that don't look like us, which is completely wrong. Like, this whole TikTok ban has shown us this, because the Chinese people thought that the Western world hated them. The Western world thought the Chinese people hated us. So that's not lost on me. That has been purposefully done in a way that keeps us from connection. And yet, if we're all connected, other than that top less than 1%, that owns all the wealth and controls everything. What happens when 1% of us get together and form these communities and collectives and start talking about things and realizing that we don't all hate each other, that we were made to celebrate each other's differences? We form this collective of people who understand that we're all human and that we all bleed red and that we all have the same desires for peace and love and healing around the world. Okay, yes, thank you, Miss Joan, for that. That's the book. And we all downloaded Red Note yesterday to be friends with the Chinese. Look, and we're all learning Mandarin. These reactions here are not what they expected from us. So the thing that I'm saying is your reactions and your focus and your time and energy affect the outcome. It's important that we all understand this. Greg says, Greg, I had to look really close at your profile picture. I thought you were my ex-husband for a minute. But I'm blessed. A lot of people my age will probably never wake up. You're right. A lot of people will not wake up. And we can't make people wake up. Gosh, I'm not going to share that. It's not time yet. Okay, what are the 5 tribes? I'll do that. When I have spoke with my Native, Hispanic, African American friends, we share our cultures. That's important. That's so important because we're all meant to share each other's culture and our gifts. And when we all get together, we form a complete circuit of energy. Miss Joan, I'm so glad that you own that book. I do not have a copy, but I can pull it up online, and I do have some really interesting books that everyone should read, but I write a lot, and I used to read a lot more than I write, but now it seems like I'm writing and just all the time. Okay, so let me talk about the 5 tribes. In the beginning, there were 4 original tribes of the earth. They came from 4 different directions. That's all I know about them. They were the first original tribes of the earth, the 4 different tribes. And they came from different directions. That's all I was shown. And now, each time the 4 tribes have done this multiple times, the 4 tribes would separate and get lost from each other. They would be divided, just like we are now. There's never been so much division. So each time the 4 tribes were placed on earth from 4 different directions, they would come together, and then because of their differences, they would separate. They would separate and they would divide themselves, but not realizing that each of them had a missing piece of the puzzle for survival. So that's an important note. I'll benchmark that. Okay, so the 4 original tribes came to earth, and each time they divided and separated, they destroyed themselves. They destroyed humanity. The 5th tribe that exists are made up of all the 4 different tribes, a little piece of each tribe, and a star system. And they've come to earth to bring back the knowledge, the ancient knowledge and wisdom that through connection and through collaboration and unity is the only way that we save Earth. So they try to get their messages out. They try to be a voice of reason when things get crazy. So there are 5 now. And so with the 5th tribe here, the 5th tribe was allowed to come to Earth and reproduce and use the DNA of all the 4 original tribes to try to save Earth this last time. Casey Kelly, I have memories of being a star. It was one of my first spiritual experiences. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, so it was like life implanted in my mind, like a memory. Look, so a lot of people, I want you to understand this too. Not one of us, not one person on this earth is better than another. We are made to love one another, to celebrate our differences, and to help each other, and to love one another. And all these, look, I was just about to say that. All these different cultures need to unite. So that we can allow the earth to continue her healing process. And we get to a more sustainable place where we're not just taking from her. Because listen, the things that the things coming up in our future, we're going to need voices of reason, and they're here now. There are, whether you want to call them ancients or aliens or the 5th tribe, it doesn't matter. But just know that they hold this ancient wisdom and knowledge that they're trying to share with everyone. And not one person is going to be a savior. There's not going to be a Buddha. Now, like, I've already been warned that, like, they're telling me don't let it get culty, like that kind of thing. Because the age of Aquarius is like the change. And people are looking for one person or one leader. But I'm going to tell you something. This is not a one-person thing. The next Buddha is not going to be one person. It's going to be a collective of people. Because if there is one person, it is way too easy to have a sacrificial lamb or a martyr. And we are not down for that anymore. There will be no more sacrificial lambs. There will be no more martyrs. Because it never creates any kind of real change. It creates temporary changes, and then it goes back into the old ways. So we are wise to this, and we know for a fact that we are going to make these changes, and we do it in this time and space. What I'm going to say is something right now, and it may go, I think there are enough people in here who will be able to help me out here. Okay, listen. The reason that we say healing is incredibly important is the same reason that I'm going to tell you time is not linear. That we think of time as linear, and it's not. It's incredibly important to go back and heal yourself. Heal all your wounds, even the childhood wounds. Because when we go back, it's going back in time. And when we have that healed version of ourselves, it expands us. It expands the awareness. It expands the consciousness and the energy and the collective. So that's why it's so important to go back to heal everything that happened. Can you speak to the balance of trying to wake people up to how the less than 1% doesn't have our hearts and our intentions? Okay. We can't wake anyone up. there has been this ebb and flow of people awakening for the last 10-ish years, I would say. Okay? And in this ebb and flow of consciousness, this awakening has occurred. More and more people understand and awaken, and then it creates this ripple effect throughout our shared reality. But we can't wake anyone up. Okay, I'm going to tell you this story. Yesterday, Olive is, y'all know I talk about Olive a lot, but she has healed me in a way that she makes me understand myself even in a deeper way, because I see her as the child I was. Like, my other children were really sensitive to nature, but she is so empathetic and caring, and like, she has been so affected. She saw a news clip at my mother-in-law's house, and she has been devastated about these wildfires. And she wanted to know what happens to the people there, and why hasn't someone put it out, and what if the fire spreads to us? And like, she has been obsessive about it. Like, I can't, usually it's easy to redirect a 3-year-old, but she has been obsessive about it. And now I understand myself on a deeper level, because I was a lot like this as a child. And I remember writing in a newspaper thing one time when I was in 4th grade, and I put that I wanted to be everything for everybody. And I wanted to be a doctor so I could heal the world. And so as a 4th grader, that's like a huge thing to even think about. But my 3-year-old's already thinking about this. Like, how can she help the people who are going to be affected by this wildfire? And so what brings me to this point, Suzanne, because I'm thinking about you, is that she has the knowledge of this. She can't, it's bigger than herself. But she also, when she was talking about it, we were talking about some other things. And then she said, "Mommy, Daddy's asleep. You need to wake him up." And in that moment, I knew exactly what she was talking about. And the visions, and I've asked that my visions not be shared with Olive. Okay, so I know that she's protected from my mind. She needs to be protected from my mind. So with that, I say this, because I had to tell Olive that I can't wake her daddy up. He's in the exact place that he needs to be, and the exact journey that he's on. And if he wants to wake up, then he can, because Mommy's here. And until science catches up with consciousness and can explain it, he will not be able to wake up. Some people need proof. They want to see it with their own eyes. Especially people who are very analytical and mathematical and scientific. They want the science to support it. And I get that. And I respect his journey and where he is. But we cannot wake anyone up. Miss Joan, I opened my book of the Tao after 30 years, and there's a quarter literally stuck to the 11th verse. Will you please send that to me, what that 11th verse is? Because I'm pretty sure that I want to know what that is. That's important to me, I know today. Children are amazing and more evolved. Yes, look, there will be, I'm going to tell y'all this now. There are a group of children who are our children. A lot of us knowing our purpose and mission. Like, some of us chose not to have children, and I totally understand why. Some of us had children anyway, and those children are going... Look, we start creating a bridge, and they finish building it. They finish, and in their time, in their adult lives, they will never know a time where complete peace and love and harmony didn't exist. So that's what I'm seeing for our future. I couldn't figure it out until somebody told me the sentence, "It's on purpose," and it all clicked. I can't pin anything yet. Miss Rose, please help me. You're going to have to help me. Look, if this goes away, if this TikTok ban goes through, which I don't think it will. I'm not seeing that. But I have seen like a lot of people having shared visions of 3 days of darkness. And I don't know that we should take that literally. It could be literal, like, or it could be something as simple as losing TikTok for 3 days. I've had this vision where, okay, I'm going to share that with y'all. I think it's okay to say this. Let me just double check here. Okay, well, okay, never mind. Let's go on to something else. It doesn't matter. We all know that this is part of a big show, and we're all going to be careful of our reactions. That's important. Okay, so I want to take us back to 2008. Okay, I had a newborn baby. I just found out that my husband had another child with another woman. And also that he had been signing title loans out, and like, I felt like everything was falling apart. And then an ice storm hits us, and we are forced to stay in this room with my son and my newborn daughter, and candles. We lived in a rental house at the time where you could feel the cold air blowing through the windows. I mean, it was rough. And I'm saying all this because I could have spiraled out of control. It would have been real easy for me to. But I kept myself together. I did not react, and I made it through it. We went a week without electricity. It was freezing cold. It was below freezing. And I don't know if y'all know this, but it usually don't get that cold in the southern states. So we're not equipped to deal with that kind of thing. We're not prepared for that. But the fact that I'm saying is that we made it through that experience with all of that other stuff going on. Y'all can too. Y'all can make it through really hard things. Our ancestors have, and I know that we can too. And why I'm telling y'all this is because things are not always as they appear. And sometimes things happen for us to bring in better things in our lives. Okay? Because I'm going to tell y'all, that husband that I had, I loved him. And I'm just between me and y'all, there was probably a reason that he was having with other women, because it was, okay, it was a passionate relationship, if y'all know where I'm going. So let me just tell y'all that. That is what kept me in that toxic, abusive relationship, because I thought that that was love. But all of that had to spiral to show me something bigger and better. And what I mean by that is that it healed something in me after I removed myself from that relationship. It healed a part of me that I didn't know needed to be healed. because I felt like I would never find anything like that again. And I thought that whenever all that happened, I thought this is the hardest thing I'll ever have to go through. Like, the first divorce I had wasn't that difficult. I got married at 18, and we just realized that it was never going to work out. We realized that it was just not going to work out. So we both moved on. And then this last one, Mia's dad, I thought I was in love with this man, and I thought I just would move heaven and earth to be with him, only to find out that he was not the right one for me. And it took all of that hardship to show me that. And fast forward years later, and I move in to a rental house. I'm going to share this story with y'all because it's a beautiful one, okay? So I'm feeling like, oh my goodness, all this stuff has happened to me. My car is about to get repossessed because he's taking title loans out on it. And if I lose that, I lose my way to work. I'll lose everything. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So at that moment, I decided that I could not stay in that relationship anymore. It was toxic. It was abusive. It was nothing good. And so I moved out. And I moved next door to this guy. And I was working 70 and 80 hours a week. I had just been diagnosed with my illness right before my divorce. And the fact that the first time that I got sick, this man that I was married to told me that I still needed to go to work because he was going to lose his truck if I didn't, and he couldn't pay his child support. So, you know, what I'm trying to get to is that everything happens for us, whether we realize it or not. Just like everything happens for us and for the highest good of ourselves, because it just does. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that when you're in that situation and you're deep in it and you're feeling like everything's falling apart. But sometimes things fall apart to fall into place. And so I moved out of my house with him and told him that, you know, we would have to get a divorce. And so I moved out, and then my next door neighbor is now my husband. So, and he has told me that he's a devoted servant forever, because we've been through so much together. We've been together for 13 years. But had I not spiraled and went down that and had all that happen to me, I would not have all this goodness. Just like when we look around in the world and see what we don't like to see, it's easy to think, oh my God, this is awful. But it's making way for something better. It's making a way forward. It's making room for new stuff. So just be patient and know that New Earth is here. And what that means is there's a place where only light and love and unity and peace exist. And I know that this can sound far-fetched, because you think, how can that ever happen if this person comes into office or this thing happens? But I'm telling you, this goes beyond politics or religion. I've said that before. This goes beyond anything that they have used to separate us in the past. Thank you for that confirmation that I needed to share my story. Okay, so I know what it looks like. I know how terrifying it can be sometimes to look around and think, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to get to this place of love and unity and peace if this person is here? Or if, but I'm telling y'all, everything had to happen exactly like it's happening so the new can be brought in. And sometimes it doesn't look good, but things are not always as they appear. I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all sharing time and space with me, and being part of my community and allowing me in your lives and sharing things with me and trusting me enough to do that. And I respect and honor each of y'all, and I just want y'all to know how grateful I am. I come to you today with gratitude and love for you exactly like you are, because I know that each of you is connected to me. We are all connected, and we are all moving forward and transitioning into this beautiful new place where we will not allow fear to control us anymore. We will not allow consumerism to devour us anymore. We will not be defined by how much money we have, or what kind of clothes we're wearing, or what kind of car we're driving, because we're all going to go back to having communities and helping each other and being valued for the knowledge and the skills that we have. So y'all just be patient and hang tight, because it's here and it's coming, and I'm here for it. Don't listen to things that scare you. Listen, sometimes we can get feelings for a good reason. Like, sometimes things can make us... Fear is not always a bad thing. Fear can cause action, right? Fear can cause us to act and move on things and get things done, if it is a natural, healthy fear. I'm telling y'all that some fears are man-made, and they are directly put into your path for reasons to use it as control and keep you fearful and divided. And we don't want that fear to sneak in. And if it does, you remember that you've already revoked consent. You no longer consent to the things that don't serve your highest good. You've already done it. I've already done it. And as a collective, we are going to keep choosing to do that, because it's not a one and done kind of thing. It's a lifelong diet. It's getting out of that abusive relationship, even though it's not abusive 100% of the time. We're not going back. We're not going back to that relationship. We're not going to slack off of our diet. We're going to keep going. Keep pushing forward, because it's important. And also, let me tell you something else about... I'm going to share one more thing before I go, and then we'll recap, okay? This came to mind earlier through a conversation. Like I said before, the vision that I got about the web, and how some of that's pure and with good intent, and it's out there for us to grab, but also the things that are not. Some of the things that are being fed to us for reaction. Okay, so I want to tell you this. In podiatry practice, this is a life experience that just comes up, so I share whatever comes into my mind at the time. Just know it's important for somebody to hear this. In podiatry practice, when you have a plantar's wart, that is a virus. And air, oxygen, feeds that virus. Moisture feeds that virus. There are a lot of things that can feed that virus. Reactions are the same way. So in podiatry, in a podiatry practice, we would use a chemical, and we would put it on that. And then it would cause this big reaction, this blister, this bubble, where it would all come out at one time. where it would all come out at one time. Or there's a simple way where at home you can put duct tape on that virus and it smothers it. By not giving it any reaction or giving it any air, it dies down. And that's exactly what we're seeing over all these things. Like, we are not reacting or overreacting to drones or UAPs or orbs. So they create another thing for us to overreact. And when they're not getting the reaction that they want, they're going to create something bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you don't react to any of those and you have no fear moving forward, then we win. It doesn't mean that you can't get scared at all. It just means that you have to sit with that and figure out where it's coming from. And yes, Miss Shawn, you don't feed it what it needs to thrive. That's exactly what I'm going for here. That's exactly the message. So hold space, trust the process. Everybody's speaking exactly. So yes, hold space and time and energy for healing, and know that no matter what happens, humans are resilient, and your reaction might be the very thing. Your calm reaction, your underreaction might be the very thing that's needed to help someone else not react in a place of fear. So take your pain, turn it to power. Take your fear and turn it to love. So transmute those feelings and know that we are all connected and that we are all holding time and space for each other. Okay, you have to hurt to heal, and you have to go through it to get through it. And Casey, Kelly, and I need to do a podcast together or an interview together that will help a lot of y'all too. Look, we all have stories, and we're all meant to share them with each other, and they're all going to be helpful for each other. So I want y'all to know, hey, Lydia, y'all just keep coming in as I'm trying to go out. But I'll stay a little bit longer and sit with y'all if y'all want to. But this message is something that needs to be understood and taken on, because there are a lot of people talking a lot of stuff. And those lot of people may be pulling from that web that I was talking about that is not the ancestors or not the spirits and energies that are interested in our highest good. So that's what I'm going to say today. And I will, I'm going to download this live and put it on my YouTube. And y'all don't worry about the TikTok ban or whatever's happening. Because my husband told me this thing last night. He said, just because they ban it doesn't mean that you have to take it off your phone. It means that it won't continue updating. I don't know if that's true or not. But so we don't need to freak out. Something's going to work out. And even if it doesn't, there's YouTube. Okay? So I love y'all. And y'all all deserve healing. If you didn't watch this live from the beginning, please go watch it, because there's a powerful message in this. You know that feeling. You know that feeling. Okay, so we'll talk again tomorrow, maybe around this same time. I love y'all. Y'all are all worthy of healing and love, and I'm sending it to you today. Okay? Bye, y'all.